I will tie up or try to tie up with some remarks made since yesterday morning. One by Prof Moati in the track B. She used the phrase strengthening the language of the discipline. Professor Oyu, in his paper also in track B, said science teachers, educators, and science teacher educators, those who train the teacher, generally lack awareness of the impact of language on science learning. Words of truth. My friend Katie, Prof Sitati Paking, she described the research. She talked about pedagogical strategies that support language development, and then the strategy she mentioned was to give learners challenging tasks, things that one can talk about at a higher level. It's quite a challenging task to look at that picture there, Darby, very like mine. Katie talked about learner opportunities to express themselves. And then she made a very practical suggestion, I believe, and I'll come back to that later, and that is having books with one language on the one side and the other language on the other side. Mko Vadisa, another engineer. Language has to be part of the learning plan. By the way, I'm originally an engineer too. I left that out of the CV. Mpo also referred to the difference between vocabulary and discourse and suggested that ways of discussing is perhaps the issue. Now I want to take you back to the very start. Mr. B.S. Monyati, yesterday morning. Just one little thing he mentioned, but that really encapsulates the challenges in learning mathematical language, was the kind of statement we make in mathematics: if such and such and such and such, then there's a lot of if-thens in that picture there. But mainly I want to relate to a term B.S. Monyati used when he talked about squiggles. Because mathematics is mainly squiggles. I'm going to learn a different mode now. I'm a teacher. You're a captured audience. I looked at those two loaves of bread and I talked to myself. And I thought, 8 slices is more than 2 slices. But then I thought a bit more. But 8 can be 2. 8 slices can be 2 slices. Can you see that? I have to say this, Darby, you gave the best lecture on semiotics that I've listened to in my life. It was absolutely wonderful. But of course, 2/5, you can see that on the left, or on the right if you want to, is something different than 8/20. I mean, it's very different. 2/5 and 8/20. They even look different. But 2/5 is, and now I'm switching to another language level, is equivalent to 8/20. I mean, any grade A learner, grade R learner would have followed my presentation up to now. When we come here, I tell you, first year engineering university students, when I get here, they freeze. That equivalent to is simply a different kind of language. It's a different kind of a clause. Something is equivalent to something. We use that in mathematics to recognize that two things are different, yet in some sense, typically in their value, they are the same. Now I had to use a word like value. See? Now, people who do not acquire these mathematical clauses, ways of expressing, mathematics remains a closed book. Higher mathematics remains a closed book. I'm trying to describe the challenge we face. And then we have those squiggles there at the bottom. And we'll come back to those squiggles. What can they possibly have to do with the things described, shown, and the words higher up? Okay, let's look at that in a different way. Ben cuts a loaf of bread into 5 equal slices and he eats 2 of the slices. Then cuts a loaf of bread, these loaves are the same, a loaf of bread into 20 equal slices and she eats 8 of the slices. Who eats more bread?
I thought you did too much.
Ben. Now, this is an example of what Katie calls a challenging task. It's a very challenging task. If you want to keep a lot of unruly teenagers to happen to be in grade 8 or grade 12 busy for half an hour, give them this task. They will argue, they will talk, they will express themselves. And they will not quite agree that they eat the same. Now, can you just complete that statement at the bottom in your own minds, please? I think you have a thought in your mind. If you can put language to that. Now look, all the language here is social language. It's language about people and actions and eating. But they eat the same. Why am I hoping? Because suddenly I need a different kind of language. Amount of bread. Piet, you know how you struggle with your 4th year students to give them a sense of what the clause amount of means. That clause amount of is a very different kind of language. It's a different kind of text than the other text in the above. And to move learners from experiences, even from pictures, from their own thoughts, to mathematics, we have to introduce them to the different genres, the different types of text that are not only used in mathematics and physics and chemistry and elsewhere and in engineering, but they have to learn to use these other genres of text. Teaching mathematics is teaching of language. If it is not teaching language, then the mathematics is not learned except at very, very low levels. Here I have represented in language more or less the same thing in different ways. There's that black paragraph at the top. Then there's the blue paragraph, which says rather much the same. Ben eats 2/5 of a loaf, and Tembe eats 1/20 of a loaf. Of course, in mathematics we want to, it's good to start, maybe sometimes good to start with real things and real objects and real situations that, as Karina said yesterday in track B, that relate to people's senses and hunger and so on. But that, I don't know what color that is, that yellowish thing in the middle, 2/5 is equivalent to 1/20. That's now converting the fact that they eat the same amount of bread to a mathematical idea. And then the next one, which is green, two-fifths and 8/20ths are two different ways of representing the same quantity. Now, quantity is a big word. An even bigger word than quantity is, in a red sentence, number. Two-fifths and 8/20ths are two different ways of describing the same number. Now, the number in two-fifths is not 2, it's 2/5. We look at those different kinds of language, those different genres of text. The first one, Ben cuts a loaf of bread into 5 equal slices, etc., etc. That's a description of actors, of material objects, of material actions. The next one, the blue one, is also a description of actors, real people. They do things, events take place. But it's much shorter, it's condensed. Those two yellow parts at the top, cuts a loaf of bread into 5 equal slices, and then again eat 2 of the slices. All of that is now contained in the yellow part in the blue sentence. 2/5 of a loaf. So the yellow parts at the top describe actions and objects. 2/5 of a loaf is kind of like a noun. It's a noun clause, it's a noun phrase. That kind of condensation, replacing long descriptions involving actors and actions and so on, with a single short clause, sometimes just a single word like irrigation. It's called nominalization, you don't have to remember the word, but that condensation is part and parcel of the development of mathematical ideas, of scientific ideas, of technological ideas, and they're not only necessary in order to make the report shorter and for people to communicate effectively, but they become tools for thinking, because once expressed in that short way, like 2/5 of a loaf or 2/5, you can now act on that 2/5. It now becomes an object, a mental object. And that's what high school mathematics is about. It's all about actions on mental objects. But if learners have not learned to call those things by names, then the brain cannot handle it as objects. So this is one of the principal ways in which language construction is in fact acting mathematically and forming mathematical concepts. And if these forms of language construction, of constructing new ways of saying things, if learners do not learn to do that, then they cannot turn things like you cut a loaf of bread into 5 equal slices and then you take 2 of the slices into a concept like 2/5. And it's only when you've done that that you can start to act sensibly on that object.